Welcome to Confessions of a Parent Coach. I'm Coach, mother of four, and potty talker, Ann Kaplan. This is the podcast where I confess something from my own parenting and coaching life, teach a lesson around it, and answer your questions. Even we parenting experts are far from perfect, and the real magic happens when we get down with all that imperfection. We get into the gritty side of parenting here, so earbud up and dive in. Welcome into another episode of the podcast, everybody. I'm excited to be here with you on a very sunny first official day, I'd say, of summer break for at least two of my kids. We just finished Memorial Day weekend, and so now is like the first day where mom and dad are back to real life and kiddos are not. So if any of you are going through that same moment of transition right now, I am with you. Solidarity. It is very tricky. I sat down to record this podcast episode and I'm like, I wonder how many times kids are going to attempt to open my door. Luckily, I have a lock on it. And, obviously I'm a parent coach, people. So I have spent a very long time teaching my children how to respect my boundaries and my space, especially workspace. And it has paid off very well. However, my children are still human. And that means that summertime, of course, it comes with a lot more distraction and interruption and sort of fly by the seat of your pants energy than the rest of the year, for sure. But what I want to talk about today with you all is something that I think I see a ton with parents. I would definitely say in general, I see it more with moms, but it's certainly an equal opportunity crusher, which is the kind of framing of things in our lives through the lens of deserving, meaning, there might be something that we either want or we know it would make our lives easier or it seems appealing to us. And our first line of thought as we're making a decision about whether to give it to ourselves or not is, do I really deserve this? I think that is such a common challenge for women in general, not just moms. And I do think I see it more affect men in the realm of parenting. So always, 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 we start with a confession. And my confession for you is my own experience with this, because I am not immune to any of the things that I talk about on this podcast. Far from it. And so I want to talk about my quote unquote journey to hiring somebody to help me keep my house clean. And that probably started like maybe even like 15 years ago or something like that. When Mike and I first got married, of course, just like most people, like we didn't have extra money to pay for someone to come help us clean or any of those kinds of luxuries. But we were really fortunate. And over time, like as a couple years into our marriage, things started clicking. Our careers were taking off a little bit and we could afford to have someone help us keep the house clean. But in my mind, I felt like, well, it was a waste of money. I felt kind of guilty. Like, what was the matter with me that I couldn't keep my house clean by myself? The reality was I did have time. I could have spent all my, time keeping our house clean. I was looking at like big financial goals and thinking about how, well, if we didn't get this person to keep our house clean, we would be saving money. And ultimately all of that got rolled into this, when you try to put an umbrella on all of the thoughts that I was having, it was all about like, do I really deserve this? Like, is this really kind of available to me actually? And that is the question that I want all of us to be asking ourselves is how many times do you hear about a thing? I mean, it could be the most simplest thing, like whatever, something you see in your news feed that looks really cool, but you look at it through the lens. You might not, we don't even realize that we're doing this, but we look at it through the lens of like, that's for other people. That's not for me. And it could be something as simple as, and not even expensive, right? Like right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see that I have this nice sort of pink lipstick on. This is something I totally bought because it popped into my news feed. And I watched the video for it. I don't know, like 300 times over the last year or something like that. And every time I saw it, I was like, oh, I really like this because it's not actually lipstick. It's this like product that you put on your lips and it's like a lip stain and it stays on your lips the whole day. And I am a sucker for anything that's like a set it and forget it anything, but especially like beauty stuff. Like I want to do stuff that's going to make me look good, but I don't want to do stuff that I have to maintain, which is why I never dye my hair because I can't keep it up. It's why I'm pretty lazy with makeup, but if you look at the video, it always, almost always looks like I have makeup on. It's because I do the set it and forget it stuff. Like, oh, cool, I'll just put this thing on once in the morning and I'm going to look good for the rest of the day. Or I get these like eyelash things and I just set it up once and my eyes look like I have makeup on for a whole week. That's my Achilles heel, but it's fun, right? But anyway, my point is this thing that I got for my lips cost like 20 bucks. It was not expensive, but I still kept at, it's a perspective that we all bring to considering things that are outside of our current experience or our current reality. Because they're outside of our current reality, they don't seem real. They're not part of our reality. And so we experience these things that might be lovely and desirable to us as fantasies, or we don't even experience them as fantasies because to fantasize about something would mean to imagine yourself having it. And instead, we look at it through the lens of it's kind of like it's just like on the other side of like this clear plexiglass wall. Like that's what these people are experiencing. It's not part of my reality. It's not really available to me. And that is exactly how I was thinking about the idea of having someone help me clean my house. It was like that sounds really cool, but I couldn't really do that. And I have to give all credit to my friend Elena, who is Spanish, and she has a totally different cultural view of lots of things because she grew up in Spain. They don't think the same way that we do about everything, obviously. And then one of the things they don't think the same about is having somebody help you clean your house. Like a lot of people, most people have that in Spain, and it doesn't have any of the cultural connotations that it has here. It doesn't mean that you're rich and bougie. It doesn't mean you're oppressing someone. It doesn't mean that you are too lazy to keep your house clean. Like all of the things that we tell ourselves it means here, nobody thinks that there. And so when I said to her, oh my gosh, it'd be great to have a cleaning lady, but that's not that's not really an option. She was the only person who was like, what do you mean? Why isn't it an option? And I'm like, well, she kind of asked me, she's like, could you afford it? I'm like, yeah, we could. And she's like, would it make your life easier? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, would you rather do other things than clean your house? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, do you like it when your house is clean? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, so what's the holdup? And I came up with all those excuses like I have just told you, like, well, I don't know. I think I'll find it kind of icky not, being so she and posh that I can't clean my own house. And she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, this person already is whoever this person is that you're potentially going to hire, it's already their job to clean houses. They will be happy to get another client. That's the work that they want is to earn money cleaning houses. That's why they're trying to be a house cleaner. And you want your house clean, and this does not have to be so complicated. And listening to her talk about it was the time where it felt like that plexiglass barrier was gone. And I gotta tell you, this sounds like the most mundane, superficial conversation about getting someone to clean your house. Who cares, right? But that experience, because it was a very specific feeling of that plexiglass wall dissolving, stuck with me. And it just planted a seed so that now when I consider, things that are outside my current reality, there's always a voice in my head answering that, well, that's not for me, with, well, why not? Why not? Why wouldn't it be for you? And that's the question I want you to pose to yourself as we talk about any of the stuff that we talk about on this podcast. I mean, if we're talking about like this amazing relationship that you could possibly have with your children, how often do I talk about my relationship with my kids, or my clients' relationships with their kids, or hypothetical ways that we could navigate specific parenting challenges? How often do you hear me talk about that stuff and you think like, must be nice? Or, I wish I could have that. But, and then maybe it's like this unspoken but of like, but yeah, that's not happening. Basically, like, that's other people. Anne is talking about everyone except me, basically, because maybe what I'm describing is outside your current reality. And it makes perfect sense that our brains, our default way of thinking is, if it's outside our reality, it's not real. And so, how often do you hear me talking about things that seem like a dream, and it's practically the same as you thinking about the existence of a unicorn? Oh, that's cute. Unicorns. They're magical and beautiful and they like jump over rainbows, but they're not real, right? How often do you do that to yourself? How often do you do that to yourself when you hear me talk about setting up a free consultation? Why not? Why not you? Right? Like, why not? You could easily be on a call with me tomorrow, telling me all of the stuff that's going on in your family, what you're up against, what you wish it looked like, and getting my feedback. Why not you? Maybe you deserve it just as much as anybody else does. One of the ways I talk to my clients about this sometimes is to be like, you're not special. You're boring. So if every Joe Schmo on the street is available to set up this consultation, for example, or behave differently with their children and create a different outcome with them or whatever, what makes you so special? You're the only one that can't do that? Oh my gosh. Here's this today's an anecdote rich podcast episode, I think, because another just story just popped into my head. So you heard about my cleaning helper experience. You're hearing about my lipstick experience. A while ago, probably like 10 years ago or something like that, I was at like a family gathering and my uncle was there. And, he was telling me about some health, issues he was going through. And, you know, he was a little bit overweight and it was starting to affect his joints and, some other aspects of his health and everything. And he he was basically saying like, the doctor's telling me I should try to exercise more and lose weight, but like, I just that's just doesn't really, work for me. And I exercised all the time when I was younger, and still, I still have these health problems or whatever. And he just kept telling me this story that I got to say was so ridiculous that I can't even remember any of the details of it right now because it made no sense. And I just kind of halfway through this conversation was like, so let me get this straight. You're the only person on the planet for whom eating healthily and exercising regularly wouldn't benefit your health. And he just kind of stared at me, and it was kind of funny. My aunt was there at the same time listening to us, and she just burst out laughing. And I'm like, dude, you're not special, right? Like, if this thing exists, why not you? Right. So, thinking about that, I want you to start considering not just setting up a consultation with me. I want you to think about coming on the retreat with me in October. And the first thing you're going to think as soon as that you just heard me bring up the retreat is, oh, basically, I'm stopping listening, probably, right? Like, that's not for me. And my question for you is, why not? And you might say, well, maybe it's probably too expensive. Do you even know that? Have you talked to me? Have you talked to me about your budget? Have you told me that you need a payment plan? Have you even looked at the website to see what the prices are? Right? Probably not. Oh, well, I'm really busy in the fall. Do you even know what the dates of the retreat are? Have you checked it out? These are the things we do to ourselves, and we count ourselves out like so quickly. Or, what a lot of the stuff I hear from parents is, I shouldn't need help. or there's something wrong with me that I can't figure this out. Everyone else seems to be able to do it without going to a retreat or without working with a coach or something. Or, my problems are nothing compared to some other families out there. So, probably these resources only exist for, people with extreme situations. Like, once again, do you even know that? And I'll tell you right now, not true, right? Like, yes, I totally work with families who have really unusual or challenging situations. And I'd say half, if not more than half of my clients, they're just regular people who want to do a good job parenting and they don't want to figure it out alone. And they've decided that, making something impossible for themselves isn't some sort of badge of honor, basically. It's like, and that I would say, even though I had to kind of go overcome this hurdle to get the help cleaning my house, and even though it took me a while to take action, say bite the bullet, like doing this really hard thing of ordering this lipstick online. I wouldn't say I bit the bullet when I bought my lipstick, but even though it took me a while to do those things, I can say, especially over time and the more that I have considered that plexiglass wall is actually not there, one of the superpowers that I have cultivated over the years is being able to actually completely remove obstacles when I see the utility or the necessity of something. And so that is what I'm suggesting to you, is to say to yourself, like, why not for yourself? And then to really look at, like, what do you get from coming on an experience like this? Like, what do you get from going on a retreat? And can you see that it's actually not even a luxury? And I'm going to actually read something because testimonials are so magical in certain situations. And listening to somebody else, anyone out there who is a small business owner, or even, it doesn't matter, anybody out there, if you ever have the opportunity to listen to somebody else describe what you bring to the table or what your gifts are or what your job is, like how you do your job, anything like that, it is a gift. Do not pass up that opportunity, because hearing from somebody else's perspective and somebody else's words what you are offering as a human or as an employee or as a business owner, whatever it is, it's a very special opportunity. And it really helps you see yourself more clearly, more graciously, I would say, and and to help build a connection between you and the people that you do serve, whether it's your children, your partner, your boss, your clients, whatever, your friends. The more that you understand their experience of you, the more you understand what value you bring and how to continue to bring it even further. So I want to read you this post that I shared a little bit on Facebook a couple days ago, some links to the retreat and all this stuff. And one of the moms who came on my retreat both years, and she's coming again this year, she shared my post, and this is what she wrote. Hello, mamas. Here is the key to all my parenting successes. I'd say do yourself a favor and sign up for this retreat, but it's not really a favor. For me, it's necessary restorative treatment and preventative care for my whole family. If you join me in October for this retreat, you'll enjoy a beautiful lake house in Michigan, a professional cook making all your meals and doing the cleanup, fun excursions, and some much needed quiet time. You'll leave with your batteries recharged and a journal full of reflections, goals, and parenting tools that you can apply the very next time you see your kids. Plus, you'll meet some amazing other moms and you can keep those friendships forever. It is ridiculously rewarding to read that post because it helps me understand what this mom values and what I've put out. And it helps me realize that this is exactly what I had envisioned in creating this retreat. And it happened. This is exactly what I wanted my guests to experience when they come on the retreat. And that's exactly what they are experiencing. But my most important, and the reason what inspired this entire podcast today, is where she said, I say do yourself a favor, but it's not really a favor. This is what I want you to experience by listening to this podcast. And you know what? It might not even be about the retreat. Where is a place in your life where you have experienced this like plexiglass wall that is imaginary? And is it possible that the reason why you have such a draw, such a desire, or such an interest in this thing that's on the other side of that wall, because it's not really doing yourself a favor, it's a necessity. This mom has experienced how not just personally rewarding or how fun it is or how enjoyable it is, but by the way, is valuable enough, but how it actually has made it possible for her to be the mom she wants to be just by coming here. It's not even a whole week, it's a long weekend once a year. And that is, like she said it herself. Here is the key to all my parenting successes. So I want you to consider all of these things. What is the difference between a necessity and a luxury actually? Ask yourself that question. Why not? Why not me? Is that plexiglass wall really true? All the excuses that you have to stop yourself from doing whatever it is, and obviously in my world, I'm hoping it's the retreat for you, but whatever it is, are those reasons even real? And if they're not, if they are real, are they things that we can work around, that you can remove those obstacles or make those obstacles surmountable? My hunch is yes. As soon as you decide that that plexiglass wall is not there anymore, all of a sudden you become an amazing problem solver. I have a client right now who desperately wants to come on the retreat, and she's like, don't count me out. I just have to figure out plans for Diwali, and I have to figure out childcare for when I get out of town, and I have to figure out this thing with my mother-in-law. She's not saying I can't come because of Diwali. I can't come because of my mother-in-law. I can't come because of childcare. She's saying I'm figuring these things out because I know that plexiglass wall is imaginary. Finally, I want that for you as well. Link to learn about the retreat is in the show notes. Early bird pricing is still in effect until January. Oh my gosh. Until after the retreat. No way. Early bird pricing is still in effect until June 15th. And you are absolutely the ideal candidate for this retreat. If you're a mom and anything that I said in the last, 20 minutes resonates with you, this is for you. The answer to why not you is there's no reason. You and I could be spending 5 days together in the fall, and I cannot wait to see you on my doorstep, give you a huge hug, and chat with you by the fire about all of the things. I will talk to you again next week, everybody. Bye. The episode is over, but there's more waiting for you. You can grab my free workbook, Getting Kids to Listen the First Time, that walks you through the fundamental principles I teach all of my clients and applies them to this very universal parenting challenge. So if you're sick of repeating yourself all day long or just want to learn more about my style, you'll definitely want to go to bit.ly/kidswholisten. And if you're ready to work with me, let's meet. Set up a free call at bit.ly/Kaplan call, and let's create an action plan that gets you exactly where you want to go. And of course, links to all this goodness are in the show notes. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.